Hey there everybody, Kris Perovic here. As most of you know, I don't play competitively anymore, but that didn't stop me from deciding to go to a Kings Games regional today in Brooklyn. Unfortunately, I was one of the many who wasn't able to participate in the event because I arrived too late. I guess I'm so far out of the swing of things that I forgot that I should go earlier than 9 o'clock to these Kings Games regionals. Nonetheless, I made this deck. I paid for this deck. I built this deck in real life in order to compete in this event, and I'd like to do something with it, and I might as well, I figure, make a deck profile about it. I'll start off by saying it's probably not the best deck. I didn't expect really to win the event or anything with it. I was just going to have a good time, and the reason I'm making this profile now and just giving it away is because with the release of Evil Swarms coming soon, the deck is going to have to be put on the shelf for a little while, and or at least a little while, maybe if not outright dead. And anyway, let's just get right into it. I call this my Volcasaurus deck, and that's because it has access to Volcasaurus at nearly any point in the game, as well as the other rank 5s, but well, you'll see in a minute. Anyway, let's start off. I have 1 Blacklister Soldier, 3 Cyber Dragons, 3 Ghost Ship, 3 Mr. Arcfiend, 3 Oracle of the Sun, 3 Solar Windjammer, 3 Star Drawing, 3 Wind-Up Shark, 3 Wind-Up Soldier, and 3 Wind-Up Warrior. And that's it for the monsters. It's 28 monsters. I have Dark Hole Heavy Storm Monster Reborn, 3 Instant Fusions, 3 Mystical Space Typhoons, and 3 Night Beams. And that's it for the main deck. There are no traps. I kind of have an aversion to traps. I don't know why all the decks I seem to build don't run traps. But anyway, this is it. I will say a few things. There are other level 5s that you could use. I like the wind-up portion because Wind-Up Shark combined with either of these is just as good as having a special summonable monster to combo with your normal summon monster. I think there's an even number of normal summons and special summons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 15 and 15. So you have 15 normal summons. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 15 special summons. And you also have a BLS on top. Just magic and trap removal, Monster Reborn, which is, I guess, your 16th special summonable, right? And Dark Hole. Dark Hole is an iffy card. I don't know if I think it's right for the deck. There are other cards that can go in this slot, but this is the deck. I'll say this: if you're going to use this deck at a local anytime soon, in the next week or so, just some things not to change. I like Night Beam a lot more than, not a lot more, but marginally more than I do Mystical Space Typhoon. If you feel this is too much, and I don't feel it's too much, I would consider maybe taking out Mystical Space Typhoon before I take out the Night Beam. Only because Night Beam works against Abyss Sphere, and you don't have to play that game with, am I setting my Typhoon now, which often doesn't work. I would maybe cut, now I'm not saying to cut, but I'm saying Mystical Space Typhoon, Dark Hole are cards to cut. You can touch Mr. Arcfiend and Oracle of the Sun, and maybe even these Wind-Up Warriors. But don't touch BLS, don't touch Ghost Ship. A lot of people that I've given this to, they've said, oh, 3 Ghost Ship is too many. That's stupid. All you need is 1 light, and if you can't, this turns into a Tyrus, right? That's your light. Each Ghost Ship is a light. So after you play 1, you're set. Anyway, that's the main deck. While I'm putting this away, I'll say that the reason I decided to build this deck was because I didn't feel like spending $1,000 or such to build waters, and I went through my deck library, and this was actually one of the more inexpensive competitive decks because it kind of plays like Hermetics, but it was only main extra inside like less than $150, and that's from start to finish. I didn't have anything when I started that. This side deck that I'm about to show you isn't the finalized side deck. When I bought this deck, it was a couple weeks back, I had a different version of this build. I've used in the main deck Wabokus, Threatening Roars, Fiendish Chains, Torrentials, Mirror Forces. I've used so many different cards in the main deck. And the same thing was true with the side deck. But like I said, when I bought this, I had 3 Electric Virus, 3 Puppet Plant. This is for Dino Rabbit. This is for Samurai. 3 Raikos, which was also for Dino Rabbit. And just because I like Raiko as a card, I feel like it's very versatile. 3 Vanity Fiends for Water, and 3 Dimensional Fissures. Ultimately, I decided to scrap all this. This was all something I didn't really like anymore. I decided just to keep the 3 Dimensional Fissures, in addition to 3 Soul Drains, 3 Royal Decree, 3 Overworked, and 3 Soul Takers. I think the uses for each of those cards are pretty obvious, but I didn't have those cards by now. I was going to pick them up at the regional. Anyway, moving along, I have 1 Gores token. I had Gores in the main deck for a little while. I kind of like Gores, to be honest, but I wasn't about to run 41. I felt Dark Hole was more important because of Gaios. You need a good answer to Gaios, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But at the very least, when I play, this would have certainly have been on top of my side and extra to make my opponent think, you know, maybe if they're looking at that I do have a Gores token. Lastly, here's the extra deck. I have 1 Chimeratech Fortress Dragon, because I main deck the Cyber Dragons, and this comes up way too often with Zen mains or even against Karakuris or something like that. It just comes up way too often for me not to main deck it. I've taken it out a couple times, but then it's come up and I regretted it. Then I have 1 Ojama Knight and 1 Reaper on the Nightmare. I run 3 Instant Fusions, but only 2 of these. I've played like at least 100 games. The people I've given this deck to have played a lot of games too. It's never come up where I needed the 3rd Instant Fusion. That being said, I've gone back and forth about putting a Guiltia in there, or a 2nd Ojama Knight, but well, other cards just seem more important. I run Adrius, 3 Gaia Dragons, 1 Crimson Ninja. I really like this card. I think it's really underrated, especially against Fire Fists and not the Mono Mermail, the Gen X build. I think that's a really good card, really underrated. I have 1 Volcasaurus. I really have 3, but I didn't have them. I'm gonna file a PayPal dispute against the guy who sold me 2 of them. But you're supposed to have 3 Volcasauruses. If you're looking for a card to cut, I'll say that maybe you can cut a Volcasaurus, not a Gaia Charger. Maybe one Volcasaurus. But I mean, I'm kind of fine with the way things are right now. I have 1 Tyrus. It's supposed to be 2 Tyrus. It's really good card. Wind Up Arsenal Zen Mao and ZW Leo Arms. This is actually like a really important card. It gets overlooked by a lot of the people I share this with, or I've shared this with. It is your answer to Gaios. Gaios is a real problem, and you know, that 3000 matters. It gets in there, it gets over that Gaios. And that's it for the extra deck. I'll say that in addition to this, the card I was really looking forward to main decking, again, I was just trying to have some fun, were these XYZ Reborns. They're not bad. Especially because I mean, you don't play any other traps, so these will catch the Typhoon. So but the thing is, you can't set them turn 1 or even turn 2. Really, you can only you have to wait a while, and it's just like, if for example, if you have a Tyrus on board and no Exceeds in your graveyard, and you have to set this, or if you're considering setting it, like you have to anticipate that your Tyrus is going to die before they Typhoon, which isn't going to happen. So, I mean, you have to wait till after your Tyrus is dead, but by then they've already got that clear shot at your field, and at that point, this is just kind of slow. You know, it's think about it. Is it worth not having, say, a Wind Up Warrior in that slot? So if you're top decking and you have an Oracle of the Sun in your hand, and you need a monster or something like that to combo with it, you know, and you draw it could just be too slow. And that's not to say that Tyrus isn't going to matter then, but it could very well not, and you might not need the Exceed that's in the graveyard a turn later. Anyway, I spent $20 on each of these. They're $60. I hate myself for that. So if you want to buy them, let me know. But I mean, it's just a fun card. I don't think I'd main deck it in a series event. Anyway, so I'm about to finish up here, but before I do, I just want to shuffle up and deal a sample hand just to show you what the deck does in case it's not obvious. I think it's kind of obvious. but I guess for some of you it may not be. The general gist of this is that you use 2 cards to make a rank 5 monster, depending on your situation, whatever's appropriate. And of course, you know, anyone who ever looked at, for example, star drawing, I mean, it's the one card that you don't lose any advantage by making exceed. Anyone who ever looked at that, I think maybe not in this particular, maybe not built this particular thing, but has acknowledged the concept that investing 2 cards into 1 to make a rank 5 isn't that great. And they're right. I mean, you're losing card advantage, but I mean, it should be noted that if you go into, say, a Volcasaurus and you pop their monster, and then you hit for 26 with the Gaia Charger on top of that, I mean, you've used 2 cards to do half their life. Even if that was a -1, that's better than Chain Burn. But the fact is they're losing a monster, and they have to invest a card to get rid of the Volcasaurus. So more often than not, you're breaking even. I found when I play this deck, it's a reductionist sort of thing. It's like a 1-for-1 deck, but it's more like a 2-for-2 deck. And in the meantime, you hit me for 16 with the bear, that's all well and good. I can come on top for 40 something, and you can pop my guy next, that's great, but I will come back on top for 40 something next turn and win. So as long as you don't get OTK'd, right? Anyway, so here's a sample hand just to show you what it looked like. So you have Wind Up Shark, Wind Up Warrior, and Monster Born, Instant Fusion, Typhoon. This is, I think, a fairly standard hand. You have nothing broken like Solar Windjammer and Star Drawing. But you can see you already have access to two rank 5s, and you're 1 draw away from making a 3rd. And you have the Typhoon to combo off with it. Let's just peek at the next draw. It's another one. So you have 3 rank 5s. I should also mention, I generally prefer going second. Because when you go first, a lot of times, like if you drew this hand and you're going first, you are not setting the Mystical Space Typhoon. Don't make that mistake. But you're just passing. You're not doing anything. You're not going to invest these 2. You know, you're not going to invest these 2 to make a Crimson. That'd be stupid. And so you just pass. And if they hit you with a bear, if they hit you with a diva into marksman, into dragoons, and you lose half your life. I mean, and then they go into DeLorean, pop back up the marksman, set a sphere or whatever. You know, that's just a consequence of playing a deck like this. But you know, you didn't lose, so you would on your next turn, like I said, you go like this, and depending on the situation, you might want to be conservative. You might want to do Tiras. You might want to, you know, do whatever. I mean, it's your call. It depends on the situation. But yeah, so I mean, that's the general gist of it. You do rank 5s, and you don't always go for Volcasaurus. I see some people doing that too. I mean, don't be stupid. I mean, you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh. You gotta still make right moves. A lot of times, in fact, like maybe almost even a majority of the time, Tiras, Adrius, whatever. I mean, something else could be a better play than Volcasaurus. Don't just think because I call it a Volcasaurus deck that it means you can only play it into Volcasaurus. Here's another sample hand. This hand's great. This is the kind of hand you can play on turn 1. So you have a lot of spell and trap removal. That's great because you're going to have a big monster. You can, if you want, turn 1. I gave this deck to my teammate Anthony Alvaro. He doesn't like this play. I like this play. I don't care what he says. I go into Crimson, turn 1, I draw. Well, let's just say no amount of traps are going to stop me. But I think, generally speaking, unless, I mean, Deep Prisons, you're only out to Crimson in most of the decks that get played today. So, you know, I'm going to sit on that for a good while. And it's my light for Ghost Ship. So I just need... Oh, that's busted. Anyway. It's a fun deck. It can win. It wins a lot. Like I said, it's like Heretics, except that it doesn't put out the 8,000 all at once. And I think it has access to better exceeds. So with that, here's the Volcasaurus deck. And, you know, over the next week or so, if you feel like building it, have a blast. Thanks for watching. Take care.